Hi everyone, today we will understand the Venom symbiote's lineage from the Marvel Universe. We will talk about the bonds of Venom with superheroes and villains, so let's get into it. Venom is the first alien symbiote from the battle planet Klyntar, also known informally as the Planet of the Symbiotes, is an artificial planet, located in an uncharted sector of space. Being discovered by Spider-Man during the Secret Wars, it bonded to him and assimilated his powers into its own genome. Unfortunately, it was later discarded by Spider-Man when he learned it was alive and sentient, as he was disgusted by the idea of permanently bonding to it. After Spider-Man rejected Venom, it bonded with Eddie Brock, a journalist who had his career ruined unwittingly due to the actions of Spider-Man. He came to Lady of Saints Church to commit suicide. The symbiote sensed his anger and bonded to him, forming the villain Venom. During the time when Venom was bonded with Eddie Brock, Venom had many temporary hosts, like Anne, the first She-Venom and the ex-wife of Eddie. She bonded with Venom in a church where she came to mourn Eddie's death. Reed Richards, also known as Mr. Fantastic, he bonded with Venom when he removed the symbiote from Spider-Man to do some tests on it. Reed Richards' son, Franklin Richards, his wife, Susan Storm, also known as Invisible Woman, Patricia Robertson, and Jennifer Walters, also known as She-Hulk. Beside these hosts, Venom had multiple hosts as Venom clones. As the time passed by, the symbiote's bloodlust and hunger got worse, until it became too much for Eddie to stomach. Eddie decided to reform and try to make something of his life, so he put the Venom symbiote for sale at an auction to raise money for charity, where Don Fortunato bought the suit to try and make a man out of his son, Angelo. After a brief stint with mobster Angelo Fortunato, the Venom symbiote sought out Mac Gargan, who started his criminal career as Scorpion, and bonded with him. With Gargan, the symbiote's bloodlust grew even worse, eventually turning him into a sadistic cannibal. During the Siege of Asgard, Carol Danvers, also known as Captain Marvel, was forcibly bonded to the Venom symbiote until she was freed by Spider-Man. Later, Venom stripped from Gargan after the downfall of the Dark Avengers. The Venom symbiote was taken by the US Army, and eventually bonded to Flash Thompson, turning him into Agent Venom. Purportedly lobotomized by chemical suppressants, the symbiote sought to seize control of Flash and Rampage, until Agent Venom joined the Guardians of the Galaxy. When Flash Thompson with the symbiote was infiltrating into the Crime Master's men, Otto Octavius came attacking the criminals, who was then confronted by Agent Venom. During the fight, Otto Octavius removed the Venom from Flash and put the symbiote in a canister. Then the symbiote broke out, and instead of bonding to Flash, it bonded to Otto, thus making him the superior Venom. When Red Hulk came crashing into Flash's apartment so he can recruit him, the symbiote, sensing Red Hulk as a danger, briefly bonds to him so he doesn't do any harm to Flash. Then when Red Hulk calms down, the symbiote returns to Flash. Flash is one of the first neighbors, Andy. When mob boss Lord Ogre put a price on Venom's head, Andy was targeted by Jack O'Lantern. Venom couldn't save Andy's father from being stabbed by the maniac, but when Jack released a poisonous gas, Flash protected Andy with a portion of his symbiote, which ended up bonding with Andy, and she became Mania. The Life Foundation believed that the conclusion of the Cold War would bring about a nuclear holocaust that would result in the mutually assured destruction of modern civilization. In order to protect their future utopian society, they created 5 symbiotes forcibly spawned from Venom. These were cultured and bonded to 5 of the Life Foundation's best security personnel to form the Guardians. The blue-colored infant Klyntar was merged with Trevor Cole. They became known as Riot. The purple symbiote was bonded to Leslie Jesneria. They became known as Agony. Another symbiote was merged with Donna Diego, codenamed Strike Agent 4, a mercenary suffering from schizophrenia. They became known as Scream. Another merged with Karl Mack. They became known as Phage. And last one was merged with Ramon Hernandez. They became known as Lasher. The 4 symbiotes were kept for a time in the Vault, a high-security prison for superbeings, but were freed from the lab by guardsman Scott Washington. All 4 symbiotes were weakened, and survived by merging together to form a hybrid, more powerful symbiote, thus making Scott the host who had been crippled after a scuffle with the Easy X gang. After hybrid symbiote was recovered by the US Army and was diffused into its 4 constituent symbiotes again, who were named Agony, Riot, Phage and Lasher, and were given to the members of the Mercury team to serve as superpowered prosthetics. The Agony was assigned to Lieutenant James Murphy, Riot symbiote was assigned to Officer Howard Ogden, Phage was assigned to Lieutenant Rico Axelson, and Lasher was assigned to Chief Petty Officer Marcus Sims, who was part of Mercury team, was given a military special war dog, who he trained with extensively as a symbiotically enhanced duo with the symbiote. After Carnage killed the Mercury team, the 4 symbiotes shortly bonded with Deadpool. Eventually Deadpool returned to the government by binding them to the Mercury team's dog. When Eddie Brock separated from the Venom symbiote, traces of it were left in his body. Later, suffering from cancer, Brock started working as a volunteer in the Feast Center. Mr. Negative used his powers to cure Eddie's cancer. During this process, his inactive antibodies formed a new insistent symbiote, Anti-Venom. When Eddie Brock was imprisoned in Rikers Island, who had been separated from the Venom symbiote, he became cellmates with Cletus. When the symbiote rescued Eddie, it left behind an offspring that bonded to Cletus and merged with his blood, turning him into the monstrous Carnage. Carnage had several temporary hosts. John Jameson. Carnage used him to commit further murders before eventually bonding with Spider-Man, who was Ben Reilly at the time, when Ben bonded with it in order to prevent it from hurting any innocent people, creating Spider-Carnage. After a failed attempt to control Cassidy, Wizard transfers the symbiote to Dr. Karl Malus. Norman Osborn bonded with the Carnage symbiote when he stole it from an old S.H.I.E.L.D. storehouse, and Bentley Whitman bonded with Cranage to repair the Wizard's and Cassidy's brain damage. Born from Carnage, as the 1000th symbiote of his lineage, Toxin was feared to be most strongest and dangerous of his race. Shortly Toxin bonded with police officer Patrick. Carnage was threatened by its existence and attempted to destroy it. However, Venom wanted to raise and train the new symbiote as an ally and partner. Second spawn of Carnage, Scorn, bonded with Tanis Nieves. She was a psychiatrist assigned to Shriek before briefly wearing the Carnage symbiote. Third spawn of Carnage, Raze, bonded with Special Agent Claire Dixon of the FBI, who was assigned to capture or kill the escaped symbiote-empowered serial killer Carnage, who she spent 2 years tracking. After killing Hybrid and Scream, Eddie Brock follows Venom into Crime Master's headquarters, as part of his plan to destroy all symbiotes. During the ensuing fight between Venom and Crime Master's underlings, Crime Master locks Brock up and forcibly bonds him to the symbiotes, making him the new Toxin. That was all in Venom symbiote's lineage. Thanks for watching. See you all in next video. Till then, take care.